Truaillidh! We once again are in a crucial week of play with most games expected to either make the standings closer or help other teams finally pull away from the pack. But there is a scenario where we are all within 2 games of each other, which is just complete insanity at this point in the season. This shows off how competitive this league can be and also can give hope to those of us with slow starts. Even the teams out in front right now don't look like they'll be running away with anything at this point based on the results from these past weeks. And one of the teams that started slow, the defending champion Elite Mother Tuckers, who sit at 2-3 now after 2 straight wins, will be featured in our next as they travel to take on the 2-3 multiple Scoregasms in a massive contest at the abandoned villages of Bananach.
Abandoned villages of Bananach refers to the creatures who reside in this region. A graveyard of Aishi since they first awoke in this world. This ancient place suffered an unusual effect after the schism. The dead split, as well as leaving a variety of specters that roam the land. The graveyard was not the intended result of the area back when the Aishi didn't even know what the Order of Light was. It was actually a thriving city with trade, government, and economy, a society much like the places on Earth. It would have been considered a perfect one. Mischief allowed, but no real lawlessness. No murder, no fighting, no hatred, no bigotry. Just a world filled with beings working together and enjoying life by the second without any of the distractions that hold civilizations back. But decay is part of the balance. Death, a part of the universe. Eventually the energy of emotions through millennia flooded the area and left behind images of the past. It becomes too much for the land to bear, and the past bleeds into the present, strangling and holding everything in place. This area naturally became tainted and is now trapped in between the then and the now. Obscitans Abyssus took advantage of this, made sure that beings suffered more. Instead of remaining in peace, the schism forced the poor souls still unable to escape the demise of their civilization into a state of perpetual shadow. They still roam the area, and the energy they emit still causes distortions in time and creates dangerous orbs that pop in and out of areas in a matter of minutes. What makes matters worse is that Obscitans Abyssus went even further and created an artifact known as the Horn of Fianna. There was an old leader named Fianna. No one knows the origins, but legend says Fianna was found in a cave as a child, seemingly appearing there, surrounded by skeletons of warriors. Fianna spent a whole life searching for answers to see if there was truth in this story, and when Obscitans Abyssus arrived, Fianna's legend was an easy way to sow discord. During a time of unrest, when the civilization was in the midst of its last breaths, the shadows sent in warped creatures from another world and looked to raise the city. Fianna then found a horn with an inscription that called to her. Thinking it was what they needed to survive the darkness, she blew into the horn, believing it would bring protectors from another realm. Instead, a band of evil creatures appeared and attacked everything. Not many survived. It was found that some of the unlucky still remained behind to protect the land even in death, wandering the destroyed and abandoned villages that surrounded the main city. But when the schism happened, the souls were corrupted and split as well, with many spreading darkness and despair. These souls are known as the Bananach. The Horn of Fianna is still sealed here. It is a reminder of the depths the shadows will go to remove all signs of happiness and joy. The dark forces are closing in to gain the first half of artifacts, and they bank on the distraction of having the defending champion Elite Mother Tuckers visiting the multiple Scoregasms in a huge battle. Regardless, the chaos is one step closer to taking hold of this world and this dimension.
The elite Mother Tuckers are on a roll and looking fairly strong both in the starting lineup and with their depth on their bench. Despite an 0-3 start, getting back to 500 is certainly a possibility right now this week. And this team's already back in the playoff race, actually sitting 6th in the standings overall. The multiple Scoregasms have now dropped 2 straight, on the other hand, going backward after a 2-1 start. But a win here would go a long way and could be the pivotal moment of their young season. The computers are clearly in favor of the elite Mother Tuckers, though, at 72.8%. But you never know with how wild these results have been. Justin Herbert versus Trevor Lawrence is one area where the Scoregasms need to play damage control. Lawrence has been a disappointment so far, but a couple of touchdowns here would limit any possible advantage from Herbert. Josh Jacobs has actually struggled with yards per carry, but he gets so much volume it's hard to keep him down for a full game. And he goes up against New England this week, which has allowed a lot of production to running backs, and especially to Saints running backs a week ago. James Cook gets a great matchup against the Giants, so this is another area where the Scoregasms can make up some ground. Another area might be at tight end, with Jake Ferguson seemingly being the better option over Hayden Hurst, but both still seem to be fairly touchdown dependent. A.J. Brown goes up against Sauce Gardner in the New York Jets. That's not a great matchup and could limit Brown's production, something to watch. That means that Jordan Addison on the other side will be another key for the Scoregasms. With Justin Jefferson out, Addison can see more targets and touchdown opportunities, especially against Chicago's poor secondary. DeAndre Hopkins came to life last week but gets a tough matchup, and DK Metcalf faces a fairly tough Bengals defense. Both could be touchdown dependent this week, so that could swing the match either way as well. The elite Mother Tuckers are going with DJ Moore this week after missing out on his almost 50 points a week ago, and even though he probably won't score anywhere close to that this week, he does get to go up against the Vikings secondary, which, like the Bears, is quite weak. Amon-Ra St. Brown looks to return from an injury, but that is still up in the air at the moment. If he goes, he is always a threat for a big game. The defense positions both look to have good matchups and big point potential here. This will be a key area. Both kickers could be limited. They could also possibly go off depending on how high scoring the games are. It might be close games, and it might be teams not scoring in the red zone, which leads to a lot of field goals. Elliott does have a slight advantage with being on the Eagles' offense. But of course, the 2 players I'm watching here are both at running back, and both are very important to the success of these fantasy clubs. For the visiting elite Mother Tuckers, I turn to running back Travis Etienne Jr. Etienne was a beast a week ago in London. My poor Slews had to go up against him, and he gets a home game against the Colts this week. So far this season, he has 396 rushing yards, 144 receiving yards, and 3 touchdowns. 2 of those came last week. But he does have none through the air, something to keep in mind, that all his scoring has come on the ground. He also has had duds in between his big games so far. He had 99 yards in the score in week 1, and then follow that up with just 42 yards in week 2. He had 138 yards in week 3, and then had just 72 yards in week 4. Last week, he had the best game of the year, 184 yards and 2 scores. Again, my slews are just screaming at the sky for that one. But who's going to show up in week 6? Well, the Colts have allowed 5 touchdowns, count them 5, to running backs on the ground this season. But besides week 4 against the Rams, the defense has actually held their own against running backs, allowing just 89 yards on the ground per game to this position in the first 5 weeks. This includes limiting Derrick Henry, by the way. But Etienne did play the Colts in week 1, so we do have that to look at, and that was one of his better games. And this time he's home with the Jaguars team playing with some moxie following 2 wins in London. If Etienne can build on last week's performance and emulate his success in week 1 against the Colts, then he could be in for another big game, and it could be another high-scoring finish for the Mother Tuckers. But if the trend continues or he follows a good game with a bad one, then a window could open for an upset on the other side. Speaking of the other side, I'm looking at running back Saquon Barkley. He still has to be cleared to play as he recovers from a high ankle sprain, and there were rumbles he could play last week, but the Giants ended up holding him out. If he does go this week, he gets an interesting matchup. The Buffalo Bills have actually been decimated by running backs so far in 2023, and their defense is banged up with several key players out. The Bills have allowed 105 yards per game on the ground and another 49 through the air to running backs. Both the Dolphins with Achane and the Jaguars with Etienne scored twice on the ground. Running backs are averaging 5.67 yards per carry against the Bills. Barkley, when healthy, is a beast who gets plenty of volume in the offense. He may be on a snap count if he goes here, but even if he does, he's still expected to get 15 touches. That's just what the computers expect. It's what all the experts expect. It's what the team tends to give him. In second week before his injury, Barkley had 17 carries and 6 receptions for 92 yards and 2 scores. That's the kind of production the Scoregasms need here. Barkley returns and can take advantage of a Bills defense that struggles against the run. The Scoregasms could be pushing the elite Mother Tuckers and have a shot at that upset. But if Barkley remains out or is limited to week 1 numbers where he had just 64 yards, then it could be lights out for the Scoregasms in this one. Either way, we should get some excitement with potential highlight reel plays, even if most are on the Mother Tucker side based on last week. The Mother Tuckers look to become the first team in the league with 2 Game of the Week wins as well, but there are plenty of other huge matchups going on in the league, with both 4-1 teams looking to continue to get into the win column. 4-1 Remember the Titans, a first-place squad out of the peaks of Ulk, hosts 2-3 Loki Lebowski Thor at the Gotha of the Highlands. Lebowski Thor has a lot of coaching to do here, and when taking his bench into account, Remember the Titans still has a 73.9% chance to win. Puka Nacua and Jalen Waddle should be 2 of the leaders for Remember the Titans, but if Lamar Jackson, Breece Hall, or DeAndre Swift could also score touchdowns in tough matchups, it could essentially mean a runaway win for Remember the Titans. Jalen Hurts probably needs to have a monster game for Lebowski Thor to have any shot, and Calvin Ridley will definitely need to continue his momentum from last week. My 2-3 Gashkia Slews host 1-4 Air Jordan in a big rivalry match with the Truaillidh on the line. My Slews will have about a 55% chance to win once a quarterback and defense has been added to Air Jordan's lineup. Dak Prescott, who's on the bench as of this recording, has a potential shootout he could be a part of. And David Montgomery has been a touchdown machine for Air Jordan. Cooper Kupp and Stephon Diggs are also 2 very solid wide receivers that could get you big points. Justin Fields could also be in a shootout against Minnesota, and Austin Eckler returns finally after missing the last 4 weeks for my Slews, helping to soften the blow of losing Devon Achane until at least week 11. The question is, who will be the 3rd player to step up for my Slews? Devontae Smith, Christian Kirk, Derrick Henry? 1 or 2 of them will be needed to have at least good games here. The 2-3 Siamese Dreamcats look to bounce back after 2 tough losses with a home game against 3-2 the Stellar Bitches. The Stellar Bitches enter with a 64.5% chance to win. Raheem Mostert looks to benefit greatly with Achane out, and Keenan Allen could be in a shootout against Dallas. Bijan Robinson could also receive plenty of volume in a game against Washington. The Dreamcats need Tony Pollard and CeeDee Lamb to show up, as they tend to struggle if both of those players do. Kirk Cousins doesn't have Justin Jefferson to throw to, but the Bears secondary is weak, and Cousins should be able to still have a decent game and exploit it. The one other player to watch is Denver running back Jaleel McLaughlin. If he continues to do well like the last couple of weeks, that could be a big boost to the Cats' overall lineup this season. The 2-3 Clash at Demon Head hosts 3-2 Risky Business, with both looking to bounce back from the losses last week. Risky Business has to make some moves, but the computers see this as a close one, with it being a 50-50 toss-up at the moment. Josh Allen and Isaiah Pacheco look to feast on bad opponents, and Mark Andrews could actually be one of the top tight ends this week against Tennessee. But for the Clash at Demon Head, they must answer the question, will Jamar Chase continue to play well? Well, it's to be seen. Risky Business will hope Christian McCaffrey is matchup-proof against Cleveland and that TJ Hawkinson gets more opportunities with Justin Jefferson out. Which Cowboys defense will show up, though? The Juggernaut or the pushover? Lastly, 4-1 Green Acres, the first-place squad out of the wetlands of our own, hosts 3-2 Bandidos del Rio, who's the first-place squad in the flatlands of Scal. This is a massive first-place battle in our other de facto game of the week at the Bogs of Diamiracht. Green Acres has won 4 straight, while the Banditos have dropped 2 in a row, so both are going in different directions right now. But the Banditos do enter with a 59.2% chance to win. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, if he can play, could be in for big games against Denver on Thursday night. Kenneth Walker's another player to watch. And the big question, will Mike Evans' hamstring injury limit his production in any way? Or is he fully healthy after a bye? That's a big one. Tyreek Hill looks to be big for Green Acres, and Jacoby Myers will also be looking to get back into the end zone against New England. Kyron Williams has been a touchdown machine, so he'll probably be needed. And of course, some injuries to watch with T. Higgins and Geno Smith. Both of them could be key for Green Acres as well. We shall see what all the answers are for all these teams, and I can guarantee you there'll be many surprises in store for all of us by the time the Monday night game comes to a close. All of us should be used to the chaos by now, though. I mean, we have been to Jupiter's moons and another dimension in the last 2 years, right? That's the show for the week! Hope you enjoyed it. One big announcement here is that we will have some Sunday content coming in the next few weeks. One of the first big ones will be previous Game of the Week winners getting together for some fun and shenanigans. So don't miss that. The official date will be announced both on my Instagram, eclectic_Yotso, and in one of the next videos. Before you go, check out the updated power rankings. Until next time, salut.